Hello and welcome to another edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Veronica Onuchi. Today on the program, CCT refuses Saraki's appeal to withdraw from case, reps on the probe of CBN over Forex crisis, and WAEC alleges 2 billion naira debt in examination fees by states. I will be joined by Adekunle Yusuf and Tunde Abaton. Thanks, gentlemen, for coming on the show.
It's okay to be here.
Journalist Hangout starts now. For the second time, the Code of Conduct Tribunal, CCT, has declined an application to stop the trial of the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, over an alleged false declaration of assets. The tribunal chairman had earlier threatened Saraki over the alleged delay tactics employed by his counsel, and that would in no way change or reduce the consequences of the accused if found guilty. Saraki, on his part, has also accused the chairman of the tribunal of open bias and has since asked him to rescue himself from the trial, a request which has just been thrown out. Gentlemen, twice, or the second time, Saraki is asking the chairman to disqualify himself or excuse himself rather from this case, and he has also said he is not guilty of the 16-count charge. Now, how would you marry these two issues together? I'll start with you, Tunde.
Well, I think we have to admit one thing, because this is about the 7th or 8th month. The thing started October last year, or probably 1 year. I think it is apparent, because this is the very fourth time that the Senate President will lose. He lost at the Higher Court, he lost at the Court of Appeal, and he has taken the case to the Supreme Court over the propriety of the CCT to try him in the first instance. And the last one was against the personality or a supposed comment made by the judge, without necessarily holding bill for anybody. At a particular point in time, when a law officer feels that somebody is frustrating him, he will be forced to make some pronouncements. The pronouncement made by the chairman of the CCT is not new in law. So what I just feel is that somebody is deliberately trying to evade trial. I won't say justice, trying to evade trial by whipping up a lot of things.
And you have pleaded not guilty. So why are you trying to evade trial?
So why not everybody should be made to face the law at any point in time. We have had former presidents in Nigeria facing the law. So the law must be allowed to have its course. And I think Nigerian leaders, we must demonstrate to the whole world that justice is no respecter of anybody. And everybody has every right. The mere fact that you have a right, so you will stand before the law. Allow the law to take its normal course, while you can also explore all possibilities to make sure that you have your say, while the judiciary will make a pronouncement. But I think that beside that, when we look at the Nigerian National Assembly, this is just an attempt to ridicule the judiciary and also ridicule the 8th Senate. Because when you look at a lot of things, the Senate President hired about 93 lawyers. At any point in time, whenever he's to appear before the court, the sitting of the Senate will practically grind to a halt. Because of what? Because we believe that somebody is being persecuted without necessarily the person subjecting or allowing himself to be tried in the first instance. When you are tried, it does not mean that you are guilty. Because you are not pronounced guilty, or you cannot be regarded as being guilty until you have been pronounced after a series of representation, both by your own counsel and by the counsel of the prosecution. So allow that one to take off in the first instance. Let the law take its normal course, without necessarily mean that you should not be tried in the first instance. It does not give hope to the common man. It does not show that we are a respecter of law in this country.
Rule of law. All right, I'll come to you now, Adekunle. From what Tunde has said, he says this is trying to ridicule the judiciary. Do you share the same line of thoughts with him? And what do you make of the fact that, the Senate President keeps trying to see that the CCT chairman lives up or gives up his process of prosecuting him, and then he's also saying he is not guilty to all of these counts?
I'm going to align with him on that, but what I will just add is this. Saraki is a lawmaker. Whether he's president of the Senate or president of anything, he's a lawmaker.
So he should know the law.
He should show leadership by example. That is to say, after the rules and laws have been made, you need people to show respect for the law. I don't think Saraki has done that. If you look at the character and body language of the Senate president, right from day one, when he was accused of false asset declaration and all that, he's been trying all his best to ambush the law. That shouldn't be leadership by example. The CCT is not the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Whatever verdict that is handed down by the CCT may not be the final, pronouncement on that issue. He has other layers of adjudications that you can go on appeal if you don't like it. I don't think Saraki cares about his public image. If he does, there are certain things that you will not do. If Saraki had been an ordinary member of the Senate, maybe we may not care. But people love to say, oh, number 3 citizen, fine. Whatever number you should show leadership by example. You want the chairman of the tribunal to excuse himself. But when you come to equity, you are coming with dirty hands. Saraki, in more literate societies, public opinion is not something that people joke with. Believe me, what Saraki should have done in the first instance, the day he was accused,
step down.
You can't just leave the stage. I remember in 2003 when I love to read Bolaji Abdullahi who write beautiful things about Bukola Saraki. I thought Nigeria is getting to a stage where we'll be having a breath of fresh air, people that will come to the stage and do different things from the old order of, But Saraki came and he's showing worse than the old orders that. So what I'm saying in the essence is that in this manner, the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, the way he's going about this manner, he's showing that he's actually afraid of the law. That shouldn't be. Let the tribunal make its own pronouncement. You can go up to the Supreme Court if you are dissatisfied by the rulings of the tribunal. I think by law, that is allowed. But all he's been doing is to show that he's actually afraid of what the chairman or what anybody will regard as the consequences of this trial.
Okay, but now it's seeming like he's making a thing about the chairman. Would another person have done better in this case?
Okay. If you look at the tribunal, it's not made up of the chairman alone. The tribunal is made up of three
members.
That's the quorum. So the chairman of the tribunal cannot overrule anybody. His own judgment is of the same, length, the weight, like every other member of that
the tribunal.
So if you are going to bring in anybody, what Saraki is looking for is just to make sure that the tribunal never sits. So
you think?
First, that is what is so obvious, that a pronouncement is never made till we get to the next round of electioneering activities. That's what he's doing. He's doing all this. When you have lawyers can always deceive you. Oh, you can do this. They will promise you the impossibles. We can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. Fine. But you as a human being, what kind of legacy do you want to be remembered for? What kind of public image do you want to, Saraki is not doing the right thing. Let the tribunal make its own, pronouncement. You can go as far as the Supreme Court.
So you saying that what he wants is to delay this?
He doesn't want the tribunal to ever make any pronouncement. No, there's a saying that procrastination is a thief of the time. You see, if by the time you spend a whole year, trying to determine the propriety or otherwise of a particular case, when are you going to hear the case? When are you going to allow the two parties to make their submissions and make their arguments and make their presentation? It means, like I said before, the man did not actually want to be made to face trial Because it's a question of facing trial in the first instance before you are adjudged to be guilty or not. So when you don't want trial to take place, it means that you are, as the number 3 citizen of this country, you have no respect for the rule of law and dignity. Nigeria has produced eminent juries that are respected all over the world. In fact, at a stage, late Dr. Akin Olaguda was made the justice of Chief Judge of Botswana. So if Nigerians can be asked to come and regulate the law practice or the judiciary of other countries, why are Nigerians messing up the judiciary? 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court in South Africa ordered sitting President Jacob Zuma to pay $500,000 for spending money that was not judicious on his personal residence. If a president can be made to do that, why can't Nigeria, and yes, we claim to be the leaders in Africa, at any particular juncture, this democracy we are doing, any of the foremost officers have a duty to show that Nigerians are respectable people. And I don't think the Senate president is trying to respect Nigerians.
Now, from what I have gathered from you gentlemen is that we are lending credence or agreeing with what the CCT chairman, the statement he made, saying that the delay tactics being employed by his Saraki's defense counsel will not reduce the consequences that he will face at the end of the trial.
Nobody has made any pronouncement about the consequences. What we are saying is that allow the trial to take place. When the trial takes place, it means all parties to the dispute have been given.
No, he talked about the delay tactics that the defense counsel is employing.
It will appear as if one is also making a judgment before the case. No, one is not making a judgment. Allow the trial to take place. It will deepen the judicial process. It will deepen democracy at the end of the day. Allow the trial to take place without evading trial. You know, the trial, it means all parties to the dispute are given equal opportunity to defend themselves. I'm not saying it's guilty. Allow the trial to take place.
All right.
Believe me, you see, I always, why are people afraid of their past? I'm always surprised when people like Saraki want us to believe that he's afraid of his own shadow. You are being tried does not mean that you'll be found guilty.
Guilty of it.
You can actually, this same CCT tried some people in the past.
No, last week it was.
I'm calling Orubebe's case came after Saraki.
So
Orubebe was convicted by the tribunal. That does not mean that the ruling will stay. It can go ahead as far as Supreme Court. And from the lawyers of Orubebe, that what he said, Orubebe is going on appeal. That's the beauty of democracy.
That is the beauty of the judiciary.
So the CCT is not the final adjudication panel on this issue.
You know, initially,
why wasn't Orubebe using delay tactics like the Senate president?
No, initially, even Senate president said that made the claim that the court has no competence. It's not a court of competent jurisdiction.
That's why I said
so
in more literate societies, people like Saraki would set examples.
It's not setting examples.
When the legislature made certain, rules and laws, it's not for us, it's for everybody within the jurisdiction called Nigeria. That does not mean that the Senate president should be tried different from me or any other parts.
Except, of course, if the Senate president, as the number 4 citizens, believes that he's above the law.
So the way Saraki is going about this matter is like he's afraid of his own past. If he believes that he's not guilty, then the trial continue.
All right, then let's move forward. Now, the CCT chairman is saying that he disqualifying himself is tantamount to bringing an end to the trial or the whole case. Now, do you agree with him? Because there are arguments as to what happens if he retires. Fine, he is not up to the age, but then is it really possible that he leaving this case or disqualifying himself is putting an end to this case?
I think there's one thing that we have to agree on. And the fact is that if somebody is trying to evade trial, and if somebody has gone to 3 different levels of the judiciary, from the tribunal, he has gone to the Federal High Court, he has gone to appeal, he has gone to the Supreme Court, and yet you are not satisfied. He has not come back again to ask the tribunal chairman to disqualify himself. It means the whole trial, the whole judiciary process is a nullity by the time the man disqualifies himself. It means there is no basis for bringing the case up in the first instance. I think we should, at any stage we find ourselves, we should learn to respect due process, and we should learn to respect the institution. It's degrading the institution of the judiciary. Nobody has made a pronouncement on it that is guilty. So I think it is unheard of that after 56 years, anybody in Nigeria whatsoever, former President Olubasan testified before the Oputa panel. Was he not there? Was he not a sitting president? He had every reason not to go there. Every other former president went there. So why is the man evading trial? It is too ridiculous. It's not something that we should even sit down at this particular stage and be discussing.
Please, let me remind you. You know when this matter started, Saraki began by laying the blame on the doorsteps in some of his political adversaries. You know? Then later, hey, I'm being politically persecuted because of this, because of that. Fine. Some people may buy that. I'm not one of such people. The only way you can prove to me that you have nothing in your skeleton, no skeleton in your cupboard, is to submit yourself to the rule of law. That is what makes a nation. Go there. If the tribunal chairman alone cannot convict Saraki. When you have 3, it means 2 will form quorum. So if the tribunal chairman convicts Saraki and the 2 other people say no, the majority rulings will stay.
Okay, so
you understand me?
Yeah.
So I don't know, his emphasis, why he has been dissipating his energy on the tribunal chairman is something that is giving me a lot to worry about. Because whatever the tribunal does certainly cannot be the last.
So invariably you're saying that even if the chairman disqualifies himself,
yes,
the trial cannot just end.
The trial will not end, but the trial will
be delayed. Because another chairman has to be appointed. Who will be confirmed? Whose appointment will be confirmed by the Senate?
President Buhari that we know, who has told us that he is ready to be slow and steady. That will take another long period. They will start shopping for somebody like that chairman to replace. Then you have to go to the Senate, and in the Senate where Bukola Saraki is the chairman, and of the National Assembly and president of the Senate, what will happen is they will block everybody that we want to chair that tribunal. So he knows what he's doing. We are not fools in this country. You should stop playing on
invariably, we are not close to a conclusion for this trial. That's what you guys, gentlemen, are
saying.
What
we are saying is that whether Bukola Saraki likes it or not, this tribunal will make a pronouncement on his case. He can go outside Nigeria and hire lawyers. He can go to America, go to UK, go to anywhere. This tribunal will make a pronouncement. But we want to promise him that whatever the tribunal says is never the final. In case he doesn't like,
he's not satisfied.
If he's not satisfied, he can go as far as the Supreme Court. The example is Orubebi. That's the freshest example.
I also believe that Nigerian leaders at all levels, from local government to the president, should learn something from what the Senate president is trying to do. Number one, that at any level you find yourself, remember there will always be tomorrow. So why the Senate president is doing this is obviously because there's a past that I cannot pass judgment on. That past, the sword of Damocles is dangling seriously on that past, and he's trying to avoid the sword from coming in the first instance. So every officer, from the local government to the commissioner to a governor and to a president, know that there will be a tomorrow somewhere. He has to know that there will be a tomorrow somewhere.
Okay, now before we move on to the next topic, the statement made by the CCT chairman, whom he also apologized for making, I would like us to look at that before we move on. He said that the delayed tactics by the defense team of the Senate president would not reduce the consequences he would face at the end of the trial. Now, if found guilty. Now, hold on, please. Is this statement really devoid of bias? I'll come to you, Kuni.
You know, when it comes to semantics, people do a lot of conjectures that, come on, with these delayed tactics, what will come, will come. That's just the meaning. What will come, maybe acquitter, or conviction. It's either you are acquitted or you are convicted. And in this case, the Senate President Bukola Saraki should just feel cool and calm. Why am I saying that? This tribunal doesn't have the final say on him as far as this matter is concerned. You should allow, if you have been ambushing the law all over the place, everywhere, on every flimsy excuses.
People keep on making
Remember,
the same pronouncement.
before the chairman made that pronouncement, he's been provoked several times. They have done almost everything. At a point, remember, they have to drag him to EFCC issue and all that. But the EFCC took, what the EFCC did at the time, it's like, took the meaning out of their say. By saying, oh, we don't have a case against him. So they want to, first of all, reduce the chairman of this tribunal to nothing in terms of integrity, so that the public will say, oh, there's nothing that can come out of that tribunal. But the chairman of the tribunal is 1/3. Whatever he's going to say cannot be the final judgment because two other people may disagree. And if the two people disagree, that's the judgment. You can have minority, you can have majority. So I want Senator Saraki to please look at the future of his own career, the future of this country, and what am I talking about? He's still a young man as far as I'm concerned. He can still do a lot. He can still be of immense, service to Nigeria if he conducts himself in a very respectable manner. I'm one of people who adore and love him so much until at a point that say, oh, this is not what we need.
Okay, so in looking forward, gentlemen, people being respecters of the law, how do we look forward in this case now, Tunde?
Well, like I said, the rule of law is very paramount to the sustenance of democracy in any part of the world. I said the other time that about 2 weeks ago, last week, the Supreme Court in South Africa, because at the end of the day, we normally sit down and we are the giant in Africa, asked the sitting president to pay back $500,000, money that he supposedly used without approval to renovate his own private residence.
Yeah.
If he can accuse it, that was the Supreme Court in South Africa. The man is going to do it. Did not prevent the Supreme Court from sitting, or it did not prevent the trial from taking place. I am particular about the fact that the trial should take place. Like he said the other time, even if the court should acquit Saraki, the prosecution can also appeal.
Go on appeal.
So let us deepen the process, and by deepening the process, you are building this institution. But from what the Senate President has been doing, it's unfortunate because he's a relatively young man and he has a long way to go. It is unfortunate, and he has been a beneficiary of the democratic process that we have since 1999. And to be so, he served as a special assistant to the president. After that, he became a governor for 8 years. After that, he became a senator for 4 years. He has never been out of it. It should not be him that will destroy any of the institutions that is holding democracy in Nigeria today. He should allow the trial to go apace. Nobody has convicted him, and he has every right to appeal to the Supreme Court. After all, somebody went to the ECOWAS court to press for his rights.
Interesting. Now, we have Ebuka calling from Owerri. Are you there? Nduka?
Yeah,
go ahead with your contribution.
My name is Nduka.
Yes, Nduka, please.
Okay, I just want to talk about the Saraki Maratoni attitude, and I want to end it up. With an Igbo proverb. Says, when you go taking your bath with your towel still tied around you, you are hiding something. If you go taking your bath with your towel still tied around your waist inside your bathroom, you must be having something between your laps. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nduka. Interesting proverb there. Now, still ahead on Journalist Hangout, Reps probe CBN over Forex crisis. After this break, stay with us. Now, members of the House of Representatives have ordered an investigation into the scarcity of foreign exchange in the country. This is amid biting scarcity of hard currencies. The House observed that in spite of weekly reports by the Central Bank of Nigeria that it released hard currencies to Bureau de Change operators and commercial banks, the value of the naira against the dollar and the pound sterling continues to depreciate, further worsening the country's economic conditions. A member of the House also called for the immediate sacking of the governor of the CBN, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. Now, gentlemen, the CBN governor before now had turned down the invitation from the House of Reps. Will a probe make a difference this time around? I'll start with you, Tunde.
Well, you see, my attitude is that since the inauguration of this 8th Senate, they won't stop amusing Nigerians. In the sense that, let me ask you, just tell me whatever they have done that has been in the interest of Nigeria, instead of facing issues. You see, if a husband is in the permanent habit of threatening the wife with divorce, every time there's an issue or it's a disagreement, today I will send you out. One day the woman will just pack all her things and say, well, if you don't send me out of this house today, you are not a husband. You see, they have cheapened the process by saying almost everything. The other time they were asking the finance minister and the minister for budget, they asked them to resign. As if we are in maybe they don't even know that we are not in a parliamentary system of government. The constitution only provides that they can have an oversight function and they will screen the ministers, not that they are employees of the National Assembly. It's only the president that can fire the ministers. Yeah, having said that, we all know what we have been going through. The problem with Nigerian currency is as simple as ABC. Supply and demand. Look, it is supply and demand. Nigeria, there was a time we were placing a lot of money in the central bank so that the value of the naira would reach an appreciable end. That was when it was 197. But now, because the demand, everybody knows that Nigeria is a very big country. We have a lot of manufacturing sector. Demand has far outstripped the supply. How much are we making from oil? At a stage, we were selling 2.2 million barrels per day at 104 naira. Naturally, when the thing comes down to $38 per barrel to 1.2 million output per day, there will be a shortage of scarcity. We are not making an excuse. I'm not saying that the National Assembly has no right, but for God's sake, they should not just reduce it to a petty thing that every time you say you sack the governor, every time you say you do that. I think they should come out with more reasonable and useful suggestions to help Nigeria. After all, Nigerians have been telling them they should shed their weight. They have not sacrificed in any way.
To do that.
They have not agreed to do that. They are not ready to tamper with anything that will affect their status as Nigerians. So I think there's nothing bad in the National Assembly commissioning a study to show their oversight, commissioning a study to show why or how we can go out of this recession. If they commission that study and place it before Nigeria and debate it, rigorous debate in the National Assembly, I think they will have more options. Because you will discover that if Emefiele is removed tomorrow, they may have another central bank governor that may not even have half of what he has. Nobody is campaigning for him. But the National Assembly should please not reduce this thing into an award thing by threatening everybody that they want to sack him every time. I think they should do better than that.
Okay, so
they do better than that.
I'll come to you now, Kunle. Now, it is said that every currency moves according to the strength of the economy. Looking at what is happening in the economy, can the CBN defend the naira the way the economy is?
No. The CBN is impotent in this scenario, and it's so glaring for anybody who is not blind. What am I saying is that what are we giving to the world? But we take everything in.
Only oil.
From toothpick to everything, we import. So when your demand outstrips,
supply,
you know what happens. Unfortunately, the foreign reserve, you see, during the Sanusi era, there was a lot of flexibility, and he did that
interventions
very well. Today, when I look at him, I say, wow, so this man really did well. He did a lot to ensure that the average Nigerian, the Emir of Kano today, what he did was, today you hear Dutch auction, you have this. He was busy defending the naira, but at the expense of our foreign reserves. Today, what is
that what is having an impact on having an adverse impact on what is happening now?
Of course, okay.
Because there's no foreign reserve to defend it.
If you have a huge foreign reserve, you can defend the naira. You know what you lose, but the average human being will benefit.
Because there will be opportunity for everybody to buy.
So what Sanusi did at the time, he cannot do it now if he made the CBN governor. Because our foreign reserve is almost depleted.
Almost?
This government, yes, this government, to $24 billion. This government inherited an almost depleted foreign reserve. Unfortunately, what would have helped should be an increase in the production of crude oil. Then later you have the Avengers, the whatever. And before you know it, we were barely producing over 1 million barrels per day from over 2 million.
2.2 million barrels.
And as if that is not enough, the price of crude oil in the international market fell by almost 100%. So we're in a very terrible scenario. Unfortunately, this government came in with a lot of high hopes and expectations. But when there is no cash, what can you do? So people now believe that this CBN governor, let's sack him. Listen, if you like, go and bring a magician.
Is it possible they are trying to sack him because of the policy he made? Remember, he said...
No, I'm not saying that there are no loopholes in some of the CBN policies. For example, when you look at maybe yesterday or day before yesterday, there is this company that is into manufacturing of tomato paste, Rixi, or what do you... The chairman of that company threatened to quit Nigeria and take his production plant to other African countries where the government is ready to create a conducive environment. One of those agencies he carpeted is the CBN. That the CBN will willingly give forex to importers, while people that are contributing to the development of the economy, that is, people that are producing, the manufacturers, will be denied. He said you will make demand to get forex, and several months you wouldn't get, but people that will import will easily get it. If you look at some of his allegations, these are weighty. And if we have a government that is serious enough, this is something that I want the authorities to look into. Because people who wear the shoe, they know where it pinches. Yeah. We may talk here, but people who manage, huge establishments like
manufacturing
that,
and all of
so where you employ, this is someone who has, extended his manufacturing firms to several other states in the north, and I think the man was boasting that if he's supported, some of his new athletes can employ up to 50,000 people. So if someone is talking like this, you should listen to him. We are not saying give undue advantage to him. We don't do a lot to help our local manufacturers. So what the government does is, the government will preach, hey, we are diversifying, we are doing this, we are doing... At the end of the day, they are doing the exact opposite. Why are you diversifying when you have a local tomato paste producer that can take care of a huge percentage of the local demand, and you are flooding the entire local market with imported materials? It means that his own product at the end of the day will not be able to compete. What does that mean?
Favorably.
He will generate electricity almost by himself.
Maybe constructed the road to the factory.
Build boreholes, the roads, and so many other things that will jack up the cost. So all these things are some of the challenges our local manufacturers, until we are running an economy that produces, we are not going to get anywhere. But looking at the whole scenario from the House of Reps, do you know, many of these people are just hypocrites. They know the issues, they know the problems. Go to any of these House of Reps members, how many of them spend naira? what you see on them is either dollar or pounds. Go to your governors, to all the big names in society. They don't spend the naira. So these are some of the things that they should do. If you love Nigeria, please don't tell us. Put it into action. By your habit, we know whether you love Nigeria or not. I'm not aligning with the House of Reps on this.
So we are agreeing that some of the policies are not favorable to the manufacturing society.
I think what he was trying to say is that at any point in time, a government has its limitations. But in spite of that limitation, government should prioritize the areas where the companies that can buy Forex. For instance, if you are saying that you want to diversify to agric, you should encourage all those companies that are involved in importing agricultural implements into Nigeria. Because if they can import as many implements as possible, it means many people will be engaged in the farm. If it's a tomato puree company, it's also backward integration. It's not an exporting company. They can even export to West Africa. By now, our focus should be fat. We should develop our agri such that we can capture the West African market. Do you know that?
If you produce stuff
that can capture the West African market,
and we bring in foreign products,
machineries, every other thing, you can capture West African market. As a result of that, we employ more people, and there will be restiveness that we have all over Nigeria will reduce. So government also has to prioritize the way they ask. The central bank can intervene for the sake of the local industry.
In what ways? Because the central bank came out to say that it has injected the Forex into bureau de change operators and some commercial banks. Now the question was asked, who actually is handling a Forex market? Is it the black marketers, or who exactly? I'm throwing that question to you, gentlemen.
Well, I think, you see, to every policy in Nigeria, because of the inbuilt corruption that we have in the system, if I think a situation should arise whereby we will allow every manufacturers, I think it was in Senegal or one particular country, for you to import anything, the central bank must give you a license. The central bank will sell directly to you. But in Nigeria today, we have a lot of vested interests all over the place, that they will not just allow the system to work. Us grow, that will not allow us to grow. So I see no reason why somebody that is employed about 20,000, after all, Dangote was given a preference. Sometime about 2 months ago, he was allowed to buy dollar for a subsidized rate because he employs about 37,000 Nigerians. There are many other companies that are very sensitive and crucial to keeping the employment in Nigeria at a particular place. We should encourage them, especially in the agricultural subsector of the economy.
Now, the IMF, again, has called that we devalue the naira, a call it had made several times. Now, will this really be a solution to what we are facing now? Because the free flow of the naira seems to be keeping us in a worse off position, according to some people who are coming out looking at the economic situation.
When you devalue the naira, it will make exports
cheaper.
No,
import cheaper.
Imports cheaper. And exports
expensive at the detriment of our local industries.
More expensive. What are they trying to tell you? They are trying to tell you that the situation you have in Nigeria, please worsen it.
Open your borders.
You see, there was a time I looked into the textile sector. I traveled around several states in the north and local.
It's good.
You see, the government of Goodluck Jonathan did a lot to help that sector, but it all went down the drain. How? They put billions, you see, Bank of Industry and all that. But what they would do is, when they help you to produce as a local manufacturer, the same government will allow foreign materials to come in. And when the foreign materials and the local materials compete, you are at a disadvantage. How? When you look at the cost of production in Nigeria, probably you have to build your roads, probably you have to generate your own electricity, probably you have to do a lot of things like that. Then you have several layers of taxes, the local government touts, the state government this, the federal this, the all that. Before you factor everything, you realize that your own material is far more expensive than the imported material. And given the appetite of Nigerians for foreign materials. So you have already killed the local manufacturing. So what the World Bank is asking us to do is that the situation you have in Nigeria, please worsen it. If you devalue the naira today, what will happen is that we have an already bad situation, but some principalities are saying, please worsen your problems.
No, they made this call before it got to the state.
They have always made it. I made a reference to the producer of tomato paste. Believe me, in Nigeria, who doesn't use that?
Everybody does.
If you love our country, the moment you bring in foreign tomato paste, it means you have exported jobs elsewhere. You have exported prosperity elsewhere. You do a lot to help other economies at the expense of your own country, the local manufacturers. If we patronize what is made in Nigeria, but we may choose not to patronize what is ours because we have abundance of foreign materials. So it's the same government that regulates the coming in and going out of all these products. They should do a lot in that aspect. Government is not doing enough.
Okay, so there are also talks about from experts saying that the CBN should flood the markets with foreign exchange, and that could reduce trade deficits. Now, can this do or strengthen the value of the naira? What will it do for the markets?
Well, the function of any central bank of any country is to regulate the currency of that particular country. But you have to know one thing, that can you give what you don't have? Is the CBN going to print dollars or pound sterling? Because the strength of a country is determined by the strength of your export. When you export, you make money. When you export, so when there is nothing to export, oil accounts for 90% of our foreign exchange earning, and nobody has been able to dispute that. So if that is so, we now make, I think it is so simple. Before now, we were producing 2.2 million barrels per day. Even OPEC last week said they were going to consider Nigeria. It's not one of the countries that are going to reduce its own output because Nigeria belongs to that cartel. Because they were just being sympathetic to Nigeria.
Just pity our
now, since last week, oil has been selling for $46 per barrel, $8 above the budget benchmark of $38. Now, assuming that we are now producing 2.2 million barrels per day,
but we are not doing that.
We are not doing that because we are producing 1.2 million because of the activities of the Avengers. So on one side, the value of our currency has gone down. On the other side, the price of oil in the international market has also come down to 46.
Then the
quantity we are also producing has come down. So what is the source of the currency that CBN is going to put into the market? And yes, when you borrow money, you see, people don't understand. That's why I said they won't stop amusing us. If the federal government is saying they are going to borrow $1 billion from Saudi Arabia, they are going to borrow from China, they don't give you that cash. It is you borrow in respect of the infrastructure they are going to give you. That is what they use it for. If they come to Nigeria and say Lagos to Kano rail line, it is $1 billion, they are going to finance it. It does not mean they will bring $1 billion and put it on the table. They are going to finance it to the tune of the cost of their project, and that will bring employment to a lot of people. So that's why I said the CBN, the House of Rep, they should just stop amusing us.
So then what is the way forward, gentlemen? We need to move on to the next topic.
The way forward is, the former President Obasanjo said something last week. He said there are three situations that we find ourselves in. We should spend less, we should produce more, and we should borrow. If you spend less, it means if you earn 50,000 per month and you are able to reduce your spending to 35,000, you are spending 45 before, which means you can save 15,000. That with that saving, you can borrow money. I think it is just as simple as that.
Do you agree, Kune?
I'm not totally convinced about what the CBN is doing to help in this situation. Believe me, we need to put an eye on the activities of the CBN. If you go around now, currency,
we need to quickly move.
Speculators, those people who exchange, they are more in turn now than before. Something must be responsible for that.
Okay. Now, moving on now, reports have it that 12 states are currently owing the West African Examination Council WAEC about 2 billion naira exam fees for the May-June 2016 senior school certificate examination. The exam management has also declined to mention the states, numbers of the candidates affected, and the amount owed. Rather, WAEC notes that state-sponsored candidates would not access their results until their states pay the examination fees. When will the government at all levels begin to prioritize education? Gentlemen, I'll start with you, Tunde.
Well, I think not until probably 7 or 8 years ago. Yes, it is the responsibility of every government whatsoever to provide education for the citizenry. And in providing education, yes, we may agree that it may not be totally free, but there's a way in which, if you know education is your #1 priority list, there are some, especially in a period of recession like this, there are some other areas that have to take a back seat, like the lifestyle of those people who are running us. If you know, let's say a state now, let me mention Lagos State has to pay 1 billion for about 100,000 students that are paying school charge. It means in a particular sector, either in terms of infrastructural development of education or health, they will take that money because you cannot ask them, you cannot delay it. Education is something that you cannot delay. It cannot wait. It's like a parent. The education of your children cannot wait. But when you are building a house, the building of that house can be suspended because you want to educate your children. And by educating them, it means the house is not relevant. But when you choose to build that house and you refuse to educate them, so we cannot, they all know. I don't know whether we don't have planning in this country again. Because at any point in time, for September every year, every state knows how many students that are going to write WAEC in 9 months' time. Let's say between September and April. Can't they save money for that period? And when they have found it absolutely impossible to pay, can't they ask parents to also pay the WAEC fees? Yes, you can say you are operating free education, but most of these things are just slogans. It is not practicable again for most of these states. Yes, the government has every responsibility to educate its citizens, but the government should also stop at making propaganda what they cannot do. If they cannot share or prioritize their responsibility in some other areas, they should also inform the parents to come and pay. What is the essence of? They wrote the exam around May, June this year. The results are out. Most of them want to gain admission. They have gained admission to higher institutions. If you don't present your original certificate, they will not admit you. So it has its own ripple effect, which means most of those students who pass from those 12 states, most of them will not go to any higher institution this year. Okay, that's another social problem.
All right, Kunle, this mirrors the value we place. This incident mirrors the value we place on education, if you agree with me.
Yes, it does, but what we do in Nigeria is that we politicize everything.
Is this about politics?
It's about politics.
How is that?
We politicize development, we politicize humanity, we politicize everything. Why should any government be paying for WAEC fees? Believe me, you, the parent of a child, you have a responsibility for bringing the child to this world. If the government, I will explain to you, if the government has chosen to do free education, does it mean that everything the parent has no responsibility? They get to a stage, some will say, I will even feed the children, I will clothe them, I will give them books. We pass through this system. I'm not a product of a primary school. When I was in the primary school, when I was in the secondary school, all through, nobody paid my WAEC fees. You understand me?
I can tell you how much I paid for WAEC.
So, just as you said, I can tell you how much I paid for WAEC. But when we politicize, if politicians would not make political gain out of something, they won't dabble into it. Why should a state like Lagos, Osun, Ondo, or any state for that matter be paying the WAEC fees of any student? Many of these people, they tell you they pay WAEC fees for, they actually attended private schools. Some of the private schools will charge 300,000, 200,000, some up to 1 million.
They don't I'm coming.
No.
They pay for all government schools.
No. When it is time to do WAEC, they know what they do. They quickly enter into the system, including those who are already in the public school. What we are seeing is, instead of allowing these children to suffer, because they will suffer, for this year now, the government has technically cancelled pre-jam, post-jam and whatever. So many of the schools, what are they doing? What they are doing is that give us WAEC result, the input, the relevant subject, and tally everything together, that if you have A1, it's not the same thing with C4.
Yes.
It's the old order. So some of the universities are doing that. What we are saying is, why should a government, in a time of recession like this, you should prioritize what you can do, what you cannot do. If a government cannot pay the salary of its workers 6 months, 8 months, then why are you choosing to do free education? When you are saying you are doing free education, you are not helping in that in terms of the quality at the end of the day, because quality delivery is different from politics. So let's involve the parents in this aspect. Until maybe 1999, I don't think it's the fad in this country for any state government
to be paying WAEC. Not up to 7 years ago. Nobody.
All through when I was a secondary school student, I never had it.
Maybe it was about 7 years ago when politicians came.
When politicians want to make a political gain, they will say, we did this, we did that. Believe me, go and look at the public schools. We're in a recession. If the government of Nigeria wants to help, they should go back to the public school, make them better, so that many of us will have to withdraw our children from private school. The day that happens, a lot of money will be channeled towards our own individual development. You understand what I mean? Majority of Nigerian children today don't go to the public school.
That is the truth of the matter.
You see a man or woman selling, fruits by the roadside, and he's struggling to pay
school fees
for his children in the private school. It shouldn't be. Today, the best students don't go to the public school. The best students go to the private school. In the old order, the best students, you find them in the public school. It's the war that will go to private school. We changed the whole thing, and this is the result we are facing.
So invariably, we are not encouraging the standard of education with all of this, if I get you guys.
Well, I think government should sit down again, prioritize, and stop unnecessary politicization or making popular pronouncements that has no relevance to the challenges of today. Any parents whatsoever. In fact, if you ask parents to start paying for their children's school fees, it will go a long way in encouraging them to do family planning. To know how many children they should have. You know that you have responsibility. Like he said, 70% of the students going to higher institution writing WAEC, they are those who make it, they are from private schools. I'm telling you, those who make it are from private. Those who are in public schools, government paid teacher, they do a lot of things, and you don't get good results.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show. But that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another exciting episode of the program, and you can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Veronica Onuchi.